All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well and everybody has enjoyed the end of summer almost. Enjoying themselves Labor Day weekend. Hope everybody got some great things planned. It's great to get back to things. Celebrating my birthday was great. But I want a big shout out to everybody in the channel. I want to thank everybody. We eclipsed 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's a huge feat. I want to thank everybody that's been commenting, everybody that's been making the channel better, everybody that's providing content ideas. It's really, really great. On the Facebook page, JL Scott Fishing Eats, on TikTok, Instagram, and all that great mess. We got a lot of things coming, okay? And we're not going to stop pushing, okay? We're not going to stop pushing. We're going to keep rolling the content out. Sometimes the content's going to take us in certain directions that people are going to like. Sometimes the content's going to take us in places that are controversial and people aren't going to like. But things got to get said. That being said, I was asked by about a half a dozen people about what my opinion was or what my take was on the Kayak Fishing League All-Star selection that happened while I was away. Yeah. So let's break that down really quickly and make sure that everyone kind of understands what that's all about. Okay, it's very similar to, I guess, you were growing up as a kid with baseball in terms of it becomes more or less, can become more of a popularity contest than it necessarily is a talent contest, right? Talent selection process, right? Although in some organizations you've got like writers and stuff like that do a lot of that stuff, and then you have fans and in the aggregate and all of that stuff. With the KFL, it was more or less a popular vote. More or less, people got to vote online. They started a couple weeks ago, and I think each team had like 4 players you could choose from. I might be wrong on that. I think on the selection process, because I think I heard some people talking about that. I'm not sure how they picked the 4 of the 8, but however that was. So it wasn't like all 248, 249 anglers in the KFL were even eligible for anyone to vote on them. So there was already a thinning of the herd, so to speak, of anglers in which could be voted for. I don't know what the process was that did that. Who did that, whether it was by committee, by commissioner, whatever it was. So, in essence, there's about almost 250 anglers in the entire KFL. Now, that being said, only about 12% or 13% of those anglers ever fished a match or more than one match out of 9. So that kind of eliminates a lot of those guys that only fish didn't fish at all, obviously. Because there's a lot of those. There's like 19 or 20 anglers that didn't even fish a single match, but they were on rosters all season long. And then you've got guys that have only fished one match. So unlike the MVP, which may or may not, I know Greg Kraz had commented about how he thought that you should have had to have played a minimum number of games to be considered for the MVP. That kind of makes sense. I mean, I would think. But in terms of all-stars, I really think the way I look at it is I really think it's basically the games you played and what your impact was for your team and for the league and for each match and how you performed and all fish catch rates and all of that stuff. I mean, again, to be an all-star, you have to have performances, right, that rise to the level of all-star performances, right? I mean, or you're just a celebrity. So you've got to look at the all-star thing as a popularity celebrity contest, or meaning your name, or your actual statistics. Because there are a lot of guys in the KFL that people, in my opinion, still know nothing about because there's no one promoting them as promised. There's no one elevating them. There's no one bringing them on to KFL Live. There's no one bringing them on to Hindsight. KFL Live has been really great. Hindsight's kind of a joke because Hindsight's more about the league dishing on people and throwing shade on or discussing issues and problems, which another one I heard popped up this week. So another fish DQ or not, abiding by the rules, and always having to discuss just stupid stuff that is just ridiculous. And again, evidently there was a fish that got DQ'd or didn't get DQ'd, and then they allowed an angler to resubmit the fish after the tournament was over, but it wasn't within the rules. The rules clearly state that you have to submit if a fish is challenged by the league then you can't submit a photo of that same fish again. You have to submit another fish to replace that fish. Okay, I guess that rule wasn't followed. I mean, it's stated right there in the KFL rule. So I don't know what's up about that. I just got a bunch of messages about that and all that. But again, I'm sure they'll have to talk about it again, which takes time away from talking about anglers in the league that have done really, really well and made a great name for themselves, right? But they're not being promoted. And then now you have an all-star match that's got guys on the all-star match, seriously, that have fished in like 3, 4, 5 matches and have an average of 50 or 60 match length. And we're calling them all-stars. So anyone from the outside looking at that is like, wait, what? You've got anglers off the all-star list, not in the all-star game, that averaged over 100 inches every match they played in, and they're not in the all-star game. Someone have to explain that to me. Because to me, that's not an all-star game. This is a popularity. And again, how do you get popular? You get out there, right? You put your face on Hindsight. You put your face on KFL Live. You get out there and you get popular, right? And lo and behold, it's not a surprise to anyone that the people that were on KFL Live and Hindsight for most of the season, lo and behold, are in the All-Star match. Even though their performance seriously does not rise to the level of, people like Steve O'Brien, okay? Averaging 147.50 inches per match. Cayman Rasmussen, okay, 113 inches. Matthew Lee, 108. John Futch, Fox, he's not in the league. Again, the Lone Star Bandits aren't eligible. And they've got they still left the season in week 5, and they still have freaking half their team in the top 30, I think, for length. What's that tell you, right, about talent? Or John, who was removed from the league. John's still number 4 going into week 9 on the stat sheet, okay? So that tells you right there the kind of angler he is on the water, independent of everything that happened. You've got Eric Polenz, number 5, over 100. Zach Bunner, over 100. Joe Dia, over 100. You got all these guys that are over 100, inches per match, okay? And then when you look at the all-star list, you're looking at people that are 50 inches. Played in 3 matches, 50 inches. Played in 4 matches, 62 inches, right? On average. How does that rise to the all-star level? Realistically. Okay, if we equate this to baseball, how does that even equate? A guy batting a 137 is going to make the all-star game? I don't think so. Again, and this stems from indicative of what some of us, not a lot of people, because most people don't care about the KFL. Let's be honest. All you can do is go in Kayak Back Nation, and you can kind of see the flack all season long and the stuff that's going on. Again, KFL is an interesting concept, okay? It really is. And I've said this before in defense of the KFL. You're going to get bloodied. First one through the door always gets bloody. Moneyball, okay? That's the way it is in everything. First one through the door gets bloodied, okay? And so, and my biggest criticism has always been of the KFL was, how'd you brand yourself? You branded yourself like the NFL, and you branded yourself as being, kind of above and beyond and better than, and we're doing it better than KBF, right? Yet you use as KBN pointed out, you use 85% of KBF rules, okay? You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of anglers in the KFL actually fish the KBF, so it really makes you wonder, why that's even why in any Hindsight or any of these things do you even mention KBF? Why are you breaking yourself against KBF? And now you have KBF taking notice. Okay. Hey, you've been hitting us in the face. You've been giving us uppercuts for freaking a year now, and we're gonna come up with our own team little concept here. That's what happens in business. Okay, evolution, right? And so you got to understand, it's that's how branding works, and everything around what you say, what you do. Everything about how you market your brand, everything about what your brand stands for. And it can't just be a rock to, use as a rock against somebody else. After a while, it just doesn't work. And then when you come out with an all-star game, which would be a great time to promote the talent of the league, what happens? It becomes a freaking popularity contest. So it becomes Who do people know, right? Who are people familiar with because of what? KFL Live, Hindsight. Who do they know? They know Greg Noser. They know Robert Brown. They know Keith Lambert. They know Garrett Morgan. They know all these people who've been on multiple casts all season long, and lo and behold, they make the playoffs. But what's their average length per event that they all fished in? Go check it out. KFLfishing.com stats. Go check it out. I mean, does that rise to the level of all-star performance? Or is it a KFL celebrity match? That's my opinion. And people can crush on me and say I'm hating, whatever. I'm keeping it real. Because all I'm doing on my channel is expressing publicly what people are all expressing behind the scenes. Okay? And what people are all messaging me from within the league. Because they're not going to make public statements, and I don't blame them. They're in the league. Why would you want to run that risk and make a public statement that's negative and then risk some arbitrary made-up rule come into play that you get banned for like the next year and you can't fish when all you want to do is fish? You're not going to do it. You're going to send a schmuck on YouTube like me screenshots and messages of chats from the KFL chat group, from the KFL owners group, from the KFL starters and players group, from all of that stuff, and you're going to send me personal messages like, hey, take a look at this and look at this. This isn't cool. My guys on my team don't think this is cool. You know, I know the other guys I fish with don't think this is cool. Right? And that's inevitably what happens. Because you don't really have an open environment where everyone is free to offer up their opinion. You've got a select few of people that tend to make it up as they go along. You're going to find that out on my channel. Hopefully it'll be picked up by a couple. We'll see what happens with a couple podcasts in the coming weeks. I'm just going to lay that out there, which completely tells the Lone Star Bandit story. Okay? For 2 years. It completely just chronicles the Lone Star Bandit KFL saga. Okay? So everybody understands from the beginning of last season to the ban, who are the Bandits? What do they stand for? Who are they as people, as men, as anglers, as Texans? Who are they? Right? Going to be an absolute contrast to who the KFL made them out to be. Okay? Self-serving purposes, making them out to be. Okay? Because most people know. Like, most people around the country know these guys, know that whole thing was just what it was. But getting back to the All-Stars, of course, none of the Bandits can be on the All-Stars, though they probably would, even if you just took through Week 5, at least 2 of the Bandits. You know? Jeff, 152-63, played in 2 matches. Okay? That's not an All-Star performance? To have an average of 152-63 a match? Yeah, he would be an all-star, right? I mean, let's be honest. Okay? And so it's just really, it's more of a popularity contest. And kudos to the guys that actually got in the all-star, that are in the all-star game. Coley McGowan, Jake Anglis from Granite State. I mean, these guys have had awesome seasons. Rich Biggie from Bay State Attack, awesome seasons. A good dude, right? Keeps his head down, just fishes and stays out of the bullshit. Okay? You know? And there are a lot of guys in the league. I mean, there are a ton of guys that just keep their heads down and fish and don't get engaged in any of the bullshit that's been going on in the KFL all season long. They just don't deal with it, don't comment on it, and just roll. And and kudos to them, because again, they were getting beat up on. I know Rich Biggie, I mean, they were getting beat up on the first couple weeks of the season. On Hindsight, KFL Live, they were basically getting beat up on, and so was the New York Empire, getting beat up on. But actually, I think both these teams had good seasons. I mean, wins, things don't always equate to wins in competitions, right? But if you look at length and if you look at fish caught, I mean, compose those guys to like Arkansas, who didn't even catch a limit in most of its matches this year, okay? And they're going to make the playoffs. But then you have Bay State, and it goes to the competition that Bay State was playing. I mean, my opinion. So kudos to Rich Biggie for making the All-Star game. Well deserved. Ewing Minor, well deserved. Another one on the All-Star list from Tennessee Shiners. Each guy's just a hammer and never says anything, right? The guy's just business. Ewing, all business Minor. Like, seriously. And his brother. But his brother's not in the KFL. And rumors are he ain't coming to the KFL either, from what the rumor mill is chirping about. I mean, neither is Drew Gregory from the rumor mill of a KFL team trying to get Drew Gregory added to the team after the trading deadline. Let's see how that goes. And that flies with everybody. If that goes down for the playoffs, and someone like Drew Gregory, who's probably the best or one of the top 3 anglers from a kayak in the entire country, if the KFL decides to break its own rules and let him in, because no one seems to be aware of him being on a roster all season long, and the trade deadline was weeks ago. So, however that's working, it's probably the same people that always pull this jank in the KFL and just try to get away with shady stuff. But, hey, again, their league, they can do whatever they want. It all goes to credibility. And from the All-Star perspective, I'm not buying the credibility of it being called an All-Star game myself. I love the fact that they're having a game. Kudos to them. I personally would have put the All-Star match the same weekend as the championship match and have everybody from the KFL come to Chickamauga. I think that's where it's going to be, and have a big KFL family-like event where people could bring their families, stay at the resort at Chickamauga, freaking have on, Friday the All-Star match, Saturday the championship, or Sunday, or Thursday maybe the All-Star match, Friday take the day off, no pre-fishing allowed, then have the championship game. I mean, Chickamauga is massive, so it really isn't going to impact the catch rate, okay, of the championship. But how awesome would have that been? Like, everybody come together, north and south, same location. Instead, it's like a challenge series in the KBF. It's like, oh, go fish one of your 4 home lakes, and we'll put you against these teams who are going to fish their 4 lakes. How inevitably is that even in right now in September, this Saturday? How is that even remotely going to be a contest? I'm just curious. You're looking at Mother Nature. You're looking at the time of the year, and you're going to put northeast lakes. When you look at the primary number of where these team members are around the country, that becomes a huge factor, right? Like what's happening down south, what's happening, versus the Northeast. We've seen all these tournaments in the Northeast just blow out freaking smallmouth bass in all these events, like crazy. And then you got Southern guys, maybe the bite's tough, right? We saw that this last weekend, week 9, right? In a lot of these places where teams didn't even catch full limits. So that's my point. I don't think it's an equal playing field, but I'm glad they're having an All-Star event. I just, from my perspective, as a fan of these guys and following a lot of guys, Facebook friends with a lot of these guys, and know that these guys are just awesome people, and I got nothing but respect from every player in the KFL. Again, my arguments began with the ban of the Lone Star Bandits. My criticisms of KFL began with that instance on July 26th. Before that, there's nothing negative on any of my social media that could be construed as negative, in my opinion, about the KFL. But, so things change. This is what happens when you make decisions that aren't grounded in the rules. You can't just make stuff up as it goes along. And you certainly can't criticize people like KBF or Hobie or KBN or some other trail for what it does when your own shit's not in order. And you're not following your own rules that you created. So that's where I'm at on that. I absolutely, totally, most supportive of players that are in the KFL. I hope that wish them all the best success. The guys, I hope that go on to win the championship. That it has nothing against players. It is against management. The man, right? I mean, it's like, look, what's the man doing? Come on. Promote these guys. Promote all these guys. And this All-Star event would be a great way to prevent the actual talent in the league, instead being used to just push the agenda, push the name recognition of the same people that KFL has been pushing all year long on all of its telecasts, who haven't performed on the water. I mean, these are people that are saying, oh, Cody Milton hadn't really done anything in the KFL. Or dropping people's names that play in their own league. Brad Case hasn't really done anything. I'm really disappointed in Brad Case this year. Nobody gives a shit who you're disappointed in. Some people have bad seasons. Some people have bad matches. Some people don't match up well to the water that's being fished on an away match, right? But, it doesn't mean they deserve to have their name dropped. Like, did somehow, who are you? Like, oh, you're a guy who's A, not fishing. Or you're a guy who's, oh, you're averaging 50 or 60 inches every match that you've played in a KFL, but you're passing judgment on people. Like, seriously. I mean, that's what it's come to on hindsight, mates. I'm just saying, check it out. I mean, I'm just saying. But that's how I kind of feel about, that's my 2 cents, man. I'm just a schmuck on YouTube. I'm a clown. I'm an asshat like everybody else on YouTube. I'm just giving my opinion. It's great. It's great. The all-popular match coming up this weekend. Tune in, Fishing Chaos. Check it out. Support those guys that actually deserve to be on the water, that have averaged over 100 inches for every match this season they've played in, from 4 matches to 7 or 8 matches, however it is. Kudos to those guys. Those guys are hammers. They deserve everything. But some of the other stuff, man, you have to admit, you have to raise an eyebrow and be kind of like, come on. Like, that doesn't rise to all-star level. I don't know about this whole 33,000 votes. I don't know how you get 33,000 votes in an all-star match for a league that doesn't average more than 100 stream views for every match all season long. I don't know how you get to 33,000. But I'm sure they'll explain it to us, or I'm sure KBN will figure it out like they have in their thread. That how does that happen? You don't have that many views. You don't have 33,000 people. But I know each person could vote more than once, I guess. Maybe they voted 1,000 times or 500 times. I don't know. Just doesn't make any sense when there's no transparency and people don't, really cover, things like they should, I think, But I'm going to be watching. I'm going to say it because I love a lot of those guys and I hope they lay it down. North or south, who's your money on? Who's your money on? Will it be smallmouth or will it be largemouth that wins the all popularity vote match, aka All-Star match for the KFL this Saturday on September 10th on Fishing Chaos. All right, mates. Take care. Again, hey, kudos. Appreciate it. 5,000 subscribers. Totally awesome. We're going to keep pushing it. All right, mates.